Hello, everyone. We all know very well the sheer destruction volcanoes can cause when they erupt. They can wipe entire cities off the map, just like what happened to Pompeii during the Roman Empire, or devastate entire regions, such as the eruption of Mount St. Helens in the United States in 1980. This raises an important question. Could a future volcanic eruption be powerful enough to destroy the entire world and erase all human civilizations from the face of the earth? Welcome to Radiant Wisdom. If this is your first time here, don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any of our thought-provoking videos. The truth is, volcanoes have come dangerously close to doing just that in the past. In fact, there was once an eruption that nearly pushed the world to the brink of annihilation. So it's not impossible that humanity could face such a catastrophic event one day. But what would actually happen if such a supervolcano erupted? And could humanity survive it or not? That's a different discussion entirely. Before we dive into what could happen, we need to understand something very important. The Volcanic Explosivity Index, VEI. The VEI is a relative scale used to measure the power of volcanic eruptions. It ranges from 0, representing an eruption so mild that no one would even notice, to level 8, which marks a mega eruption capable of destroying the entire Earth. Scientists believe that a level 8 eruption would be comparable in impact to a massive asteroid hitting the planet. When we apply this scale to the most explosive volcanoes in history, we find that the eruption of Mount Vesuvius, which wiped out the city of Pompeii, and the eruption of Mount St. Helens. Helens in the US were both rated as level 5 eruptions. That's quite surprising considering how destructive they were. To put it in perspective, the Mount St. Helens eruption released energy equivalent to 24 megatons, or roughly 1,600 times the power of the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima. So if a volcanic eruption surpasses level 5, we can only imagine how terrifying its destruction would be. One volcano that exceeded level 5 was Krakatoa in Indonesia, which erupted in 1883 and was classified as a level 6 eruption. It released energy equivalent to 200 megatons, 13,000 times stronger than the Hiroshima bomb. The eruption produced the loudest sound ever recorded in human history. The blast shattered the eardrums of sailors 64 kilometers away, completely destroyed the island it sat on, and triggered tsunamis that reached 30 meters high, about the height of a 10-story building, wiping out much of the surrounding region. Everyone living on nearby islands was killed instantly in the blast, over 12,000 people in total. One of the most devastating side effects of volcanic eruptions is the massive amount of ash released into the atmosphere. This ash can block sunlight and lower global temperatures, leading to widespread crop failure and famine. When Krakatoa erupted, global temperatures dropped by 1.2 degrees Celsius and remained that way for 4 consecutive years, from 1884 to 1888. But even 100 years before Krakatoa, there was another level 6 eruption. In Iceland in 1884, 1783. It released enormous amounts of sulfur dioxide, estimated to exceed all the industrial emissions of modern Europe over a 3-year period. These emissions formed a toxic gas cloud that killed 50% of Iceland's livestock, triggering a famine that wiped out 20% of the island's human population. The poisonous cloud then drifted to Europe and caused the deaths of around 23,000 people in Britain alone. Now, if this is what a level 5 or 6 eruption can do, what would a level 7 eruption look like? The most powerful eruption in recorded history was that of Mount Tambora in 1815. Located on an Indonesian island. It ejected 400 million tons of ash into the atmosphere, creating a thick cloud of darkness that covered a 600-kilometer radius for 2 full days. This eruption caused global temperatures to drop, and winter covered the planet for an entire year. That's why the year 1816 became known as the year without a summer. Snow was falling in New York in the middle of June. The resulting temperature disruptions ruined crops worldwide, leading to massive famines. All forms of life on the island where the volcano erupted were wiped out instantly. More than 100,000 people died in just a few moments. So now we return to our main question. What if a level 8 supervolcano erupted? Could the world actually survive the devastation? The most dangerous volcano in the world today, if it were to erupt, is Yellowstone, located beneath the feet of visitors in Yellowstone National Park in the U.S. Throughout history, this volcano has erupted 3 times at VEI level 8, with the most recent eruption occurring 6.4 million years ago. This supervolcano contains a colossal amount of molten rock, so much that it could bury an entire country like the Netherlands under 1 kilometer of lava. Although the chances of it erupting now are extremely low, if it were to blow, the ash would bury entire U.S. states in the north and west, like Montana, Idaho, and Wyoming. Anyone who doesn't flee those areas immediately would likely die within minutes of the eruption. The only places expected to remain unaffected by the ash would be the southern states, like Texas. But even then, such an eruption would lead to the largest refugee crisis in recorded history, as the entire U.S. would need to be evacuated. And of course, we don't even need to get into the social and economic consequences of a disaster like that. But the impact wouldn't stop at the U.S. The entire Earth would plunge into a volcanic winter lasting 10 years, as the ash clouds would block sunlight. Crops would fail across the globe. Livestock would die. Famines would appear everywhere. Everything humanity has built up to that point would be undone. The world would become a completely different place after the eruption. Yet despite all the catastrophic effects, it's unlikely that such an eruption would cause total human extinction. Life would go on, but in a new, radically different form. And that's it. We're done for today. Who made it all the way to the end? You guys are the real MVPs. Give us a like before you go, so we know how many of you stuck it out. And don't forget, if you have a question, drop it in the comments and we'll get back to you. See you in the next video.